Hey guys, it's Vince. Today in this video, we are checking out Doug's Messy Garage YouTube channel. He's got 3,900 likes, 1,600 views after 3 years on this particular video. And it's got 29 likes, supposedly by humans. The title of the video is called Crossfire Pro CNC Plasma, What's Inside the Control Box. Now, I want to start this video a little differently. Doug just purchased this. He did not build it. He in good faith purchased this system. And he is nice enough to once again do this video for everybody to see inside his controller. This video is not a direct reflection on Doug. This video is an unbiased opinion from someone in the field as an engineer, and I'm going to tell you exactly what we see inside this controller. That being said, Langmuir, whatever the hell way we say this, if you review my YouTube channel, you'll realize I've already done videos on their systems in the past. This is one of their latest systems. Now, I don't know if it's the latest one, meaning the one that they're selling at this very current time, but it is something that you should be, once again, taking into consideration if you're looking at purchasing one of these, and ask the right questions when you go to naturally inquire about this system. So let's jump right in.
And the AC power off of the box before taking the cover off. The reason that we have to take the USB cord out as well as...
You heard him say USB cord. Now, universal serial bus, if it's actually being used to control the system in the sense of sending the step and direction signals to the motors, we and you should already know universal serial bus is completely unstable for use with a CNC robot. Now, when I say that, I especially mean it towards plasma CNC robots, because plasma CNC robots generate the largest amount of EMI, and I could give a rat's ass what you hear online about guys using the latest version of plasma cutters. The bottom line is, guys, they generate a large amount of EMI. They pull a lot of amps. The more amps you pull, the more electromagnetic interference you're going to have. And once again, this is a very, very high risk scenario. USB is extremely susceptible to grounding issues, voltage spikes, and once again, communication issues when CPU usage goes up and down. Now, I'm not just saying this. I'll put the evidence on the screen. I'm just a messenger, and I'm once again giving you full transparency on what to expect if you're using a controller with this type of signal sending unit. Now, the thing to keep in mind also we see here is that this enclosure already has a coating on it. And I've explained to you before in videos that when controllers have coatings on them, meaning the electrical enclosure, that means that we are once again limiting our ability to ground this controller. And all CNC robots controllers in best practice should be grounded. Why? Because we want to once again mitigate any potential EMI from interfering with our step and direction signals or signals in general, because any corruption, and you've got a paperweight. So I'm telling you guys now, if we see a coating on here, you already know you have to remove that coating in order to have conduction. And if you don't, and you take a multimeter and check for continuity, you're going to find most likely you have no conduction. And not just any conduction, because I get guys that'll say, well, I grounded my system. No, you didn't ground it if it's not at 3 ohms or under. So if we have higher than 3 ohms of resistance, then your controller, even though there's continuity, is not grounded. It's 3 ohms or under for robotics use to be considered grounded. Let's move on.
As the AC power is that the controller board is powered off of the USB power, and not necessarily the AC power. The AC power is goes through a power supply, you'll see in a minute, that runs the stepper motors. I'm not real impressed with the screws they use in this. They're just a self-tapper with a slot. Because they're just self-tappers, if you have to take the cover off very many times, eventually you're going to strip out the holes. We'll see how they make out using these cheaper screws, and if I find I need to, I can always switch over to using riv nuts. There's nothing terribly complicated about this.
All right, so looking at this, I think it goes without saying, first and foremost, we do not see a ground bus. So we already know that it's missing an essential component on any CNC controller, let alone a CNC plasma controller. That is, unless you have it so that your conduction from your power supply base, like my systems, because they're metal, once we have our ground coming in here and feeding to the power supply, being that's grounded, it conducts once again with very low resistance, because we have a lot of mass on our power supply, right to our enclosure, and therefore grounding the system. What you have here is a coated enclosure, and we have a ground coming into the power supply. So even if that power supply, let's say, is grounded, in that the enclosure of it is grounded, the casing of it, there's no way it's going to be able to conduct any type of electricity to this chassis because it has a coating on it. So that being said, we look at that. We also now look at the leads going to our drives. And what we should all notice right away is there's no double shielded cable being used, once again, to mitigate EMI. There's no passive EMI filtration like ferrites being used. So essentially what you're saying is just wiring this up. That's exactly what he's done. Just wire it up, just like any other component. Hey guys, jump over to eDealers Direct Automation and check out my eBay store for the components used to make what you see in this video, as well as many others that you may not even realize you need. Of course, I'm always there if you have questions. Message me and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. And of course, I do custom engineering as well as consultations. Thank you for watching this video and your support. Take care. And this is the misconception of when you're assembling a controller if we're not looking at all the bases. A controller like this, which is known as an individual drive system, where we have 1, 2, 3, and 4 drives here, you want to make sure that each of these drives, any leads going to them, are using either double shielded cable with the shield drain allocated to a ground bus in a conductive enclosure, which once again is registering 3 ohms of resistance or under, or for that matter, if you don't want to go that route, you would install passive filtration with EMI ferrites approximately every 3 to 4 inches, because ferrites, once again, they bleed off their effectiveness the longer the cable run is. So keep that in mind. Now, thinking about this, those are already major red flags. Let's hear what kind of controller we have, because I don't know what kind of board this is. Let's see if he describes it.
This control box. We've got a basic control board here with some inputs and outputs on it. I'm going to guess it's probably some kind of Atmel processor on there. I haven't looked at it with a magnifying glass to see what it is. Basically an Arduino.
We heard Arduino. You guys can read on screen about Arduino. You can check out their forums of how many guys have had issues. And you know what's funny? I got to tell you something. It just baffles me, okay? Because I look at things in consistency form, okay? So when I look at a problem, I look at that problem over the scope of what we're working with. So if I see a problem, I'm asking myself, is it isolated? Meaning, is it more variable from end user use, or is it something that's inherently built in? Well, when you look on forums and you see a problem, then a problem, then a problem, then a problem, and it's usually different end users, they can't all be wrong, guys. And I have guys come back to me and say, oh, well, that's only, there's only a couple guys that have USB problems. Okay, can you afford to be in that? It's kind of a weird scenario. You don't want to spend a lot of money, but then by the same token, you don't want to have problems with the robot. Okay, there's got to be a mix. There's got to be a blend that we can go and say, okay, I don't want to spend too much money, but I still want a stable robot, because otherwise I'm just pissing money away. Think about what I just said.
We've got our...
Okay, and there we got our USB input. So that already tells us that's a very, very bad situation when it comes to using that for signal communication.
We have our AC input through a power switch, feeds to the power supply.
It's another point just to give you guys a heads up. Voltage of your power supply matters. Why does it matter? If you're running 24 volts in just layman's terms is much less than 48 volts. If we double the voltage, we double the speed. A byproduct of speed is going to be heat. So we need better cooling, once again using a higher voltage. That being said, your robot is going to perform much, much better. Stepper motors like overpowering. They don't like being underpowered. Now, once again, that doesn't mean you have to go crazy with voltage. I'm just explaining this because I get a lot of questions on it, and voltage of your power supply does do a lot, especially for rapid movements, and especially, once again, keeping them motors at the highest possible resolution, because once again, once we overpower them, those motors coils, they're going to respond differently, and that's something to keep in mind. Now, looking at this power supply, I already see something here I don't like, and I've told you guys many times before, we do not daisy chain. We see 2 leads going into 1 terminal. That's not best practice, okay? Every one of these terminals is designed for 1 lead. If they're going to insert 2 leads into a single terminal, the best thing to do is have a terminal splitter. You would have a lead splitter similar to what I've used on my ground bus, where a lead comes off. We then mount that splitter on the front over the controller here or some other location, and then they would run those two leads in, and that gives you a nice clean setup, eliminating daisy chaining. Another option is like I did with my power supplies, and that's why I designed them the way I did, is that we have 10-point terminal blocks for V positive and V negative voltage output, so that you don't run out of terminal space, and that's exactly what happened here. So keep that in mind. Engineering with these systems is critical. You have to do a lot of thinking before we actually go into the build process. And when we open up some other vendors' controller, you can see what kind of engineering was done. And not just the engineering, the thought.
Pretty basic how it works. There's not a whole lot to the brain power behind a CNC machine. I've hooked up the USB cable, and as you can see, we've got some...
Well, actually, I disagree with that. There's actually a whole lot to a CNC's brain power. It's just that we don't appreciate it because of the technology that's now available to us. Okay? Think about it 10 years ago. There was nothing on YouTube. Now everybody's on YouTube.
Lights, a couple of amber lights flashing, and a green LED.
Now I always find this interesting too. You can see his USB cable here, and you see that giant knot in the cable? That's a ferrite. Once again, for EMI filtration. Yet we see this installed here by a company that manufactured this USB cable because they understand what they're working with. When we see a controller built like this, which is requiring more technical knowledge, we see no EMI ferrites used, we see no ground bus installed, and we see once again no double shielded cable being used. So either I'm full of complete shit and really lucky, or what I'm saying is absolutely factual. So factual, in fact, that I was actually contracted by Emil Mashak, Chief Information Technology Officer of NASA Dryden. I've worked with Hesperos. I've worked with Applied Materials. Looking at these companies, guys, I might know something. I might be that technical. And that's what you've got to ask yourself. Am I just being anal, or am I being honest? And I want you guys to understand, not everybody's going to like the guy who's the most honest in the room.
Here we have fire control. We will open a program. We'll just load the Crossfire Pro break-in program. That's what.
So think about this as well. Whenever you guys are looking at a system's price, and I mean the whole system, and these companies always are trying to encompass everything. We're giving you motion control software, we're giving you the controller, we're giving you computers, we're giving you the table. How do you think they make money, guys? How do you think they make money? Lincoln Electric, Hypotherm, the top names in the industry, they make money on the fact that, yes, it's not cheap, but yes, they give the client a stable system. When you're buying these type of systems, it's a very high competitive marketing at systems that have lower grade engineering done. Why? Because they have to. They're cutting corners any way they can because they're not going to make any money. At $8,000, $9,000, whatever this thing costs, you have to think about how they're doing everything inclusive. All of it costs money. This software right here, even if it's a screen set and they had it custom made, they're paying an engineer for that. So in order for them to be lucrative, you have to realize, where are they cutting corners? We just saw the controller. Now you're dealing with their software. The other thing to think about is this. How are you feeling about working with proprietary software? And think about what I'm saying. If this software is tied directly to their company goes under, who's supplying your software? Who's supplying support? It happens all the time. And I'm telling you, just be aware of that. If you're buying a controller, any controller, with proprietary software and that company goes under, you're done. And it's a fact. Open source is always better in terms of software, or a direct software manufacturer like Artsoft, who's been there, tried and true. You've got over 20 years of history. That is domineering in an industry where most guys fold. And that's something you have to think about. So if you don't think about it today and you buy your system and a year later they're out of business, you can't complain.